Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you a man who I think will be our first elected MP. It's the fighting bull himself, Mr. Nigel Farage.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, good morning everybody. Good morning. This is the first national conference that I've spoken at since I stepped down as the leader of the party. And I have to say, a tremendous burden, a tremendous weight of responsibility is off my shoulders, and I'm now back to doing full-time politics, travelling the length and breadth of the country, speaking at public meetings, getting involved with the media, getting involved with the issues, and making as big a nuisance of myself as a European. It's a wonderful party, but it's full of very single-minded individuals, shall we say. And to lead a party like UKIP is a very difficult thing to do. And I want to tell all of you, if you don't know it, just how lucky we are to have, as our current leader, a man who I think is the most decent and honest man I have ever met in my life. We are privileged and proud to have Lord Malcolm Pearson. That he has the backing of the MEPs, that he has the backing of the NEC, that he has the backing of the 500 plus candidates from UKIP that will go into this general election. Malcolm, we are right behind you, and we're expecting great things on May the 6th this year. Now, I don't want to be rude, but I think we are about to enter the most boring, pointless, futile general election that has ever been held in the history of this country. How anybody is going to be able to bear listening to all three of those leadership debates, I simply don't know. Increasingly, with our career politicians and our leaders, they look the same, they sound the same, and on the issues of major substance, you simply cannot put a cigarette paper between them. It increasingly makes no difference who wins this general election. Let me give you an example. Before I was an MEP, I had a proper job in the real world, and I worked for 20 years in the City of London. I was in commodities. But whichever way you cut it, financial services are Britain's biggest industry. And yet, it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to any of the hundreds of thousands who work in financial services. It doesn't matter who wins the next election, because it won't be Mr. Brown, it won't be Mr. Cameron, it won't be a coalition government that set the rules and set the agenda for Britain's biggest industry. It will now all be controlled by three new regulatory agencies based in Brussels. If we haven't got the ability to control and regulate and run Britain's biggest industry, then frankly, shouldn't this general election be scrapped? Shouldn't we start again? And isn't the first thing that we need for us to have a referendum in this country so that we, the British people, can decide who governs Britain? Remember that the Labour Party were elected promising they'd give us a referendum on the constitutional treaty. Well, they turned their back on that promise, didn't they? Yes. And the Liberal Democrats, they went to Westminster in 2005, promising us they would support a referendum on the treaty, and they turned their backs on us. But of course there was hope, wasn't there? There was hope. The friendly, game game show host that leads the Conservative Party told us that he'd give us a cast iron guarantee that the next Conservative government would give the British people a referendum. Well, that cast iron guarantee has gone a little rusty, hasn't it? I would not trust Cameron, Clegg or Brown. I wouldn't trust them on the European question, and if they've made specific promises like that they've been prepared to break, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't trust them with anything. What you're going to get from the UKIP campaign is straight talking. We say what we mean. We mean what we say. We tell it how it is. We are not prepared for major political issues that affect the lives of everybody in this country. We are not prepared for these issues just to be brushed under the carpet, to be kept out of sight, for fear of causing offence, for fear of upsetting the children. We are a country that is in a desperate state. Our economy is in a desperate state. Our towns and cities are increasingly divided, with different ethnic and religious groups not speaking to each other. And our democracy, particularly since this Lisbon Treaty has gone through, is all but dead. I think the time has come for straight talking, and I think the great British public are ready to listen to a political party that is prepared to tell the truth, even if some of it, from time to time, may be a little unpalatable. We've got to face up to the mess that we're in, and I believe today that we're launching a manifesto that is not frightened of dealing with the issues that people really care about. We need to talk straight. Now, I've been getting a bit of practice in with straight talking. It's been going on for some time. As a result, of course, of this treaty being passed, we've had these two giant political figures take over the big jobs in the European Union. We've got Baroness Cathy Ashton, who, of course, I used to be popular there. Baroness Ashton, who is now the Foreign Minister and in charge of security for the European Union, and, of course, the President of Europe, Herman Van Rompuy, that household name from Belgium. But it is interesting to see that now they have got their constitutional treaty, there's been a change of attitude, there's been a change of mood. I said in November that I felt that two political pygmies had been appointed to the top jobs in Europe. And for that, I was called to the headmaster's study at 5 o'clock. I arrived, I have to say, feeling pretty contemptuous of the whole thing, and I was told the President would be 5 minutes late. Would I take a seat, and would I like a drink? I said, well, funny you should say that. I'll ask you the tonic, please. That was the first official reprimand. And then, of course, the next time round, a few weeks ago, I mean, listen, I had to sit through that 14-minute dirge that this man delivered. But, of course, buried within it was the demand for an economic government of Europe. Buried within it was the demand for a new form of global governance. I think, in response to a man that, yes, I'd never heard of, but more important than that I'd never had the chance to vote for. I think in the face of a man who cannot be democratically removed, I think in the face of the fact that the taxpayer now pays this bloke more than Obama gets paid for running the United States of America, and I think in the face of the fact that this man wants to take away from us what is left of our independence and democracy, I think my remarks were quite moderate and helpful in this. Meeting at the headmaster's office was less friendly than the previous one. I wasn't even offered a coffee this time. And I was asked to apologise to the President of Europe asked to apologise to the European Parliament, and asked to apologise to the people of Belgium. I had to say, hang on, old son, this is just getting a bit too long for me. I said I will apologise to bank clerks the world over, but I will not apologise to the Well, whether you agree with my comments or not, and I know some people felt that I perhaps been a little sharp in my tone, but whether you agree with it or not, the fact that, as somebody representing a political party that came second in the United Kingdom in the European elections last year, that representative has been fined 10 days' pay just for speaking his mind in what is supposed to be a parliament, I think tells you all you need to know about democracy in the modern day European Union.